Welcome back to Days of Our Lives channel. Today we will learn about the issue of shifting loyalties, second chances, and the razor's edge between love and ambition that cuts through Salem's latest whirlwind of revelations and regrets, all orbiting Belle, Philip, Xander, Chanel, Johnny, Gabi, and the titan-sized consequences of choices made under pressure. Belle and Philip's crossroads. Belle and Philip have always been a study in unfinished business to people with impeccable timing for everything except one another. Now circling again as shared history and fresh heartbreak draw them back into each other's orbit. When Belle catches a glimpse of Gabi leaving Philip's room, she doesn't spiral into jealousy. Instead, she pivots to professionalism, signaling that the past doesn't have to dictate the present, yet their conversation refuses to stay strictly above board as Philip nudges them toward personal ground. With Belle reeling from a breakup with EJ, Philip's promise of support lands like a lifeline, but the real question is whether Phil is momentum or mere they wiser now, or simply nostalgic enough to risk repeating old patterns with higher stakes this time. The pull of old flames. Reunions in Salem aren't simple retreads, they're stress tests of character, and Belle and Philip know each other's fault lines better than anyone. From ambition to vulnerability to the unspoken ache of what almost was, he offers steadiness when her world is rattled, but steadiness from Philip often masks a need to be the heroine that has backfired before when control and care blurred into the same impulse. If this does become a full-circle romance, expect the pace to be careful, the obstacles to be familiar, and the measure of success to be whether they can finally let go of the versions of themselves that sabotaged them in the first place. Chanel and Johnny's reset. While the town gossip spin over fell to point zero, Chanel and Johnny face a quieter, more brutal test. How to be newlyweds when a murder trial devours oxygen, time, and trust. Their weeks have been defined by courtroom clocks and whispered strategy sessions, crowding out the small rituals that glue couples together. From coffee at dawn to late-night laughter that erases the day's damage. When they finally carve out a window to reconnect, interruption strikes again, less a plot twist than a pattern, which means the fight for their marriage is really a fight for uninterrupted, ordinary moments no one else will defend for them. The cost of interruptions. A murder trial is not just a legal fight, it's a social quarantine that turns partners into co-defendants against time, rumor, and fear, and Chanel and Johnny are feeling the undertow. Every pause in intimacy becomes evidence in an imagined case against their future, and every knock at the door suggests a new charge, literal or emotional, that they'll have to answer for together. If they are to reset, they must set boundaries fiercer than the headlines, protecting time like a verdict they intend to win. Gabi's solo offensive. Gabi starts the week like a CEO of chaos, ready to outsource her war on Titan to Steve, only to watch the plan dissolve when family pressure redefines due diligence as don't do it. When Stephanie urges her father to stand down, Steve holsters the investigation, and Gabi, the self-starter, decides to pry open the vault herself, pivoting from delegator to lone operator without missing a beat. It's classic Gabi. When the door locks, she climbs in through the window, armed with ambition, a grudge, and a preternatural sense for where a corporation hides its skeletons. Titan in the crosshairs. Titan, long Salem's most durable symbol of power, becomes the stage for a quiet coup as Gabi targets the weak points, secrets no compliance team could fully bleach, and missteps that thrive in the shadows between loyalty and leverage. Her angle is simple and brutal. Follow the trails that connect Xander and Philip, two men whose histories with Titan are equal parts asset and liability, and then squeeze until something profitable cracks. If she lands proof of a cover-up, the fallout won't be a scandal, it'll be a market event. Xander's unexpected glow-up. Xander's name has always traveled with scorch marks, but somehow, he's drifting into fan-favorite territory. At the paradox of the penitent rogue. He's less reckless, more self-aware, and just charming enough to make it look intentional. His competence, once a blunt instrument, now reads as control. His volatility has been repackaged as urgency. And Salem, a town that loves a redemption arc more than most, is quietly rewarding the effort. Ironically, his rising stock makes him more valuable to Gabi's investigation base. The higher he ascends, the bigger the shadow behind him. Sarah's confession, Marlene's mirror. While Alex slides into mentor mode, Sarah unloads on Marlene with surgical clarity. The engagement she's supposed to celebrate is a story she can't sell herself anymore. Not with a straight face. Not with a steady pulse. It's not that she hates the future she agreed to. It's that it isn't hers, and saying it out loud to Marlene turns denial into diagnosis, grief into plan. The confession is less about Xander by name and more about the geometry of love, how one person keeps defying the angles, no matter how the lines are drawn. Philip between loyalties. Philip, whose life has always been a negotiation between heart and heritage, tries to be Belle's anchor while the winds of Titan and Gabi's hunt swirl around him, threatening to turn support into collateral. His instinct to lean into intimacy now might be genuine, but timing matters, and proximity to scandal has a way of curdling even the sweetest intentions in Salem. If Belle steps toward him, she's not just choosing a partner. She's choosing a weather system, and the forecast is changeable. Steve, Stephanie, and the ethics line. Steve's abortive investigation is a lesson in Salem ethics. Even legends bend when family calls, and principle gets redrafted at the kitchen table as often as in the boardroom. Stephanie's plea is not just filial, its strategists in the stanchions become storylines that never end, and stopping one can be the cleanest way to keep truth from becoming spectacle. For Gabi, it's confirmation that the old guard plays by human rules, which is exactly why she doesn't. Stakes that stick. Everything converges on one delicate fulcrum. Who gets to define the narrative before the truth is ready to be told? Lovers grasping for a fresh start, a couple begging time to be kind, a climber gaming the board, and a redeemed anti-hero trying to stay redeemed. Belle and Philip could find solace only to discover it's also a spotlight. Chanel and Johnny could win the trial and still lose their quiet. Gabi could uncover just enough to own the room without ever turning on the lights. And Xander suddenly Belleville could learn that reputations are ladders, and every rung upwards makes the fall a little louder. Next, the August 27th episode of Days of Our Lives gave us another glimpse into Salem's complicated tangle of love, heartbreak, and revenge. On the surface, it seemed like a light moment between Holly and Sarah, a conversation where Holly confidently reassured her mother that she had nothing to fear from Sophia. According to Holly, Tate's heart belonged to her, and Sophia was nothing more than a past mistake. But anyone who has been watching this show long enough knows one thing. In Salem, it's never that simple. The ghosts of the past have a way of creeping into the present, and sometimes, the very thing a character dismisses as harmless ends up being their undoing. Holly's blind confidence. Holly was steady, almost smug, when she insisted to Sarah that she wasn't threatened by Sophia. In Holly's mind, Tate had made it clear where his affections lay. Sophia, after all, was nothing more than a reminder of a painful chapter. She and Tate had hooked up, Sophia had gotten pregnant, and for a while, it looked as if the baby might tie them together forever. But when the pregnancy ended in tragedy, Holly saw it as the closing of a door. With no child linking Sophia to Tate, Holly believed the story was over. The baby, in Holly's words, was the only reason Tate ever hesitated about Sophia. Without it, there was nothing left. So what if they both worked at the bar? Holly waved it off. They could spend hours together behind the counter, side by side, and she would still trust Tate. Sophia had no hold over him, at least not in Holly's mind. And yet, the very way Holly shrugged it off makes viewers uneasy. Her confidence feels less like certainty and more like denial. After all, if Salem has taught us anything, it's that danger often lurks in the quiet spaces, in the moments when characters let their guard down, the doubts that refuse to go away. From a purely logical standpoint, the idea of Sophia still wanting Tate seems bizarre. He is not, by any measure, an ideal romantic partner. When Sophia was at her most vulnerable, preparing to bring a child into the world, Tate was elsewhere, distracted, emotionally absent, even careless. Instead of being by her side during her lonely labor, Tate was preoccupied with Holly. That wound cuts deep. Sophia wasn't just abandoned, she was replaced. Any lingering affection for Tate should have dissolved in that moment. So why would Sophia want him back? Why would she long for a man who hurt her so profoundly? The more reasonable explanation isn't love at all. It's vengeance. Sophia's heart may not be guiding her actions, but her pride and her pain might be. And that's a far more dangerous combination. A woman scorned. Tate hurt Sophia in ways that can't be brushed aside. He didn't just break her heart, he humiliated her, left her alone, and made her feel disposable. And if Days of Our Lives has shown us anything, it's that characters who endure that kind of pain rarely walk away quietly. Sophia could easily decide that Tate doesn't deserve to walk away unscathed. She may not want his love, but she could very well want his suffering. And what better way to exact revenge than to strike at both Tate and Holly, the two people whose happiness comes at her expense? How Sophia could play the long game. Imagine this: Sophia doesn't storm in, waving accusations or picking fights. Instead, she plays her hand carefully, smiling sweetly, pretending to be friendly. That's how true soap villains get their revenge, not with fire and fury, but with patience and precision. Step 1 could be subtle reminders of her connection with Tate. A casual comment here, a laugh about a shared memory they're always made within Holly's earshot. These little digs wouldn't need to be overt, they'd simply plant seeds of doubt, tiny cracks in Holly's confidence. Step 2 would focus on Tate's guilt. Deep down, he knows he failed Sophia when she needed him most. A few well-chosen words, a sad look, or a mention of the night she gave birth alone could stir his conscience. And once Tate starts feeling guilty, he becomes vulnerable. Step 3 could be the most destructive, creating a situation where Tate slips. Maybe a moment of weakness, maybe a misunderstanding, but Sophia could set the stage for Tate to cheat, or at least make it look that way. And once Holly finds out, her trust in him would shatter. Finally, once Tate and Holly are broken, once their love has been poisoned beyond repair, Sophia could deliver the cruelest twist of all, revealing that she never loved Tate, never wanted him back, that it was all part of her plan to make him and Holly miserable. That's the kind of move that leaves scars, the kind of revelation that could devastate both of them for years to come. And it's exactly the kind of storyline Days of Our Lives loves to deliver. Why Holly should worry. Holly may believe she has nothing to fear, but in truth, she might be standing at the edge of a storm she can't see coming. Sophia doesn't have to truly love Tate to pose a threat. She only needs determination, and pain often gives people more determination than love ever could. By dismissing Sophia as irrelevant, Holly risks underestimating her. And in Salem, underestimation is a dangerous mistake. Characters who assume they're safe are often the first to fall. The bigger picture. Soap operas thrive on these tangled webs of emotion. It's not just about love and betrayal. It's about the way people handle the wounds left behind. Sophia has suffered. Tate carries guilt. Holly is too sure of herself. Put those ingredients together, and you have the perfect recipe for drama. Will Sophia quietly fade into the background, as Holly believes? Or will she rise from her pain, sharper and more dangerous than ever, determined to dismantle Holly and Tate's happiness brick by brick? One thing's for certain. In Salem, love stories are never simple, and enemies are never truly defeated. Holly may not be worried, but perhaps she should be, because Sophia's story is far from over.